Hey everybody, Eric from the Reptile Room. Today we're talking turtles. This right here is Little, and he's a Hermann's tortoise. And this over here is Elongated Musket, and he's a musk turtle. Tortoise, turtle. Tortoise, turtle. Also turtle, not tortoise. Essentially what that means is that all tortoises are indeed turtles, but not every turtle's a tortoise. Your golden retriever is certainly a dog, but not every dog is a golden retriever. It's not the best analogy because technically a golden retriever and a chihuahua are phylogenetically the same species, just diverged by artificial selection to breed for certain traits. These, however, are two completely different species. Now, some of the easiest way to tell on these guys, and I'm going to move Mr. Little here because he wants to breed with Elongated Musket, and that's not going to work. But if you look at Mr. Little, he's very land-oriented. He couldn't really swim unless he was like in a flash flood, and he really had to survive. He could kind of mosey on, but if you were to take Mr. Little and pop him off in a lake, he wouldn't do so well in the lake. Now you can always tell you got a tortoise by looking at their hands here. You see how he's walking up on his tippy toes here? This is called digitigrade walking. Whereas if we move on over to Mr. Elongated here, he's got little flipper hands. These are really good for swimming. Now there are turtles that live almost exclusively on land. These are called box turtles, and they still have these flipper hands too though, and they are much better swimmers. Elon does have a chip out of his shell here. That was from his last home before he came here, but it's healed up quite well. He's just a cranky little fella. They're awesome. They're like mini snapping turtles. Now this right here is Malari, and he is a redfoot tortoise. He's also a turtle, but the tortoise kind of turtle. You can see he's walking up on his tippy toes here. Now these shells actually this is part of their body. It's not something that they're in. It's essentially their rib cage and spine all plated out and fused together, and then grown over with scales. And there are nerves running through here. Malari here can feel me touching his shell. Now this top shell here, this is called a carapace. And if we look underneath them, sorry buddy, he doesn't like it when I do that too much, but that right down there is called the plastron. And that is what's protecting their belly, / is their belly. Now these redfoot tortoises aren't quite as social as Mr. Little, but they are more social than Mr. Elon. Most notably, these guys are just very motivated by food, and they explore whether things are edible or not using their mouths. They don't see the best or hear the best, so that's the way to go about it, I suppose. Isn't that right, buddy? That's right. You're a good boy. So this is Milo, and she's a redfoot tortoise, and you might notice she looks like she's waterboarding herself. She's okay. This is just kind of how these guys drink. A lot of species of tortoise will actually use their nose as a straw and snorkel water up. And that's just what she's doing. She's a thirsty girl, so she's just straight up inhaling that stuff. Hey, honey. Now, turtles and tortoises come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. This right here is Tomasito, and you can't tell from the picture, but he's big. He's about 80 pounds and likes to walk through walls. He's a destructive little fella. And we're gonna give him a treat. Apples are his favorite. He doesn't get them very often, pretty high in sugar, but he does enjoy them from time to time. Now, sulcata tortoises are the third largest species of tortoise on the planet, and the largest of what's considered the non-giant tortoises. This would include things like Galapagos and Aldabra tortoises, which are significantly harder to source. But look at him go. Guy's got a big old beak on him, and he does love that fruit. This is just a treat, though. Now, you see underneath his chin there, he's got that big old battering ram. He does use that on me often. He'll sneak up behind me, and when he thinks I don't notice, he'll tuck his head in and he'll do a little charge. This is just his way of asserting his dominance over his space. But he is a good boy. He's very playful. That steel ball you see over there, that's his girlfriend. He likes to follow that thing around. He'll play chase with it. Keeps him nice and busy. Oh, that was almost my thumb. I'm still gonna need that. I'm gonna leave that there for you, buddy. Good work. Now, tortoises and turtles that we've looked at so far today, when they are afraid or nervous, they can tuck their head right into their shell like that. It's pretty crazy. These are called cryptodontic turtles, which essentially, if you think about it, they're pulling their head in past their rib cage, which is pretty nuts. Pretty crazy stuff. But a majority of turtles are like this. Not all of them. In some places, like Australia, for example, you have pink belly side neck turtles, and these are called pleurodontic turtles. They can't pull their head in, so instead, they'll pull their head sideways. Now, you see what he's doing right now? He thinks he's being sneaky. He's just gonna slowly kind of meander onto me. Any second now, he's gonna switch gears up, and he's gonna go into get out of my space mode. So I'm gonna move a little bit because he's a lot stronger than he looks. Now, sometimes Mr. Thomas here gets a bit of an itchy derriere, and I don't know if he has one today, but he really likes shell scratchies. He doesn't seem too into it right now. He's more concerned with the fact that I'm kind of in his space. He's doing it a little bit. You rub them just right and they'll actually sort of dance into it. They're pretty funny little guys. Aren't you, buddy boy? Yeah, you're a funny little guy. Now, it's the end of summertime, but you might still see some turtles out at your local ponds if you're in BC here. There's just a few things you gotta know about them. We have essentially 3 species of turtle primarily in BC, if we're not counting sea turtles when you get to the coastline, which you won't see too often, but they do pop up now and then. And these are, first and foremost, the extirpated western pond turtle. These used to be pretty common here, but it's debatable whether they still exist in our local ecosystems. You also have the western painted turtle. These are still around, but you don't see them very often. And the reason for that is species number 3. And that is the infamous red-eared slider, one of the most popular pet turtles across the planet, which is kind of funny because they're not the most reasonable turtles. They get a pretty good size and make a big mess, but they are pretty charming little guys. Now, unfortunately, these guys in the 70s and 80s, a lot of them just kind of got released when people were done with them, and they really took over. These red-eared sliders have a lot of babies every year. A lot more than our native western painted turtle. So unfortunately, these guys kind of overtook the niche for our native turtles. But we have a lovely program here in BC called the Western Painted Turtle Conservatory, and they're currently working on captive breeding some of these western painted turtles and getting those populations back up and protecting them. So yeah, you can see the differences. Most notably, the red-eared sliders usually have this red ear behind them. Not always. Some of the older ones, when they start to melanate or get darker, that stripe will turn black. But the biggest key difference for the layman eye is look at the plastron, the belly underneath. Painted turtles have that bright red plastron, and if you see one of these, don't mess with it. And if you see one of these, also don't mess with it. These are technically classified as wildlife, so you should leave all the turtles alone. But you should never release your pet turtles. I feel like that's kind of a given, though. So this doesn't apply so much this time of year, but earlier in the year, it's baby turtle hatching season. And turtles are starting to migrate. They're getting ready to nest up. Babies are hatching out and moving along. And generally, you should just kind of leave them alone. Now that said, sometimes they're on the roads, and you don't want them to be on the roads. If they are, you have 2 things to keep in mind. First, identify what it is. Is it a western painted turtle? Okay, you should probably stop your car, pop on out. You can pick the turtle up in the direction it is headed across the road, carry it across the road, and just let it carry on its way. They're very good at mapping where they are. They'll figure things out from there. They just don't want to get hit by a car, generally speaking. But you don't want to take them to your local pond or backyard and re-release them, because that is going to be very disorienting for them. Now, if you do find that it is a red-eared slider, you can always call the Don't Let It Loose program. You can call us, you can call Fish and Wildlife, and let them know that you have found invasive turtles, and they can give you further instructions from there. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.